All right, welcome back to Cut and Splice. This is Jason, and I'm with Matt and Gil. And this week we're talking about Stuck in Love. This is a movie that I recommended along with a bunch of other movies, and it's just options that we might want to do an episode about someday. And personally, I really like this movie. I don't know if there was anything in particular that made me want to suggest this other than the fact that we were just kind of talking about what we would do. And I think maybe I thought about it because I don't hear a lot of people ever talking about this movie, and I like it a lot.
Yeah, and I think you sent me that list, and I leaned towards it mostly because I was trying to balance out, um, and some
Yeah,
of the very depressing
sure.
movies
Yeah.
we've been watching lately.
In
What's
terms of genre, it's a little bit of a balance too.
yes, and it's more of a romance, and exactly. So it's definitely a departure, and also, I felt like maybe it's the kind of movie that's potentially polarizing,
You think
especially
so?
if you like it. And I do wonder where Matt and I would fall.
Oh
Uh,
yeah. Well, I never even got a chance to ask either of you guys how you thought about it, so we'll be interested to hear that.
yeah, what did you think, Matt? I'm kind of curious.
He's like mainstream Trek. No, I don't know.
I I I think as a general rule, the screenwriter should have a higher IQ than any of the characters that he's supposed to be writing. And in this movie, I feel like the writer had a lower IQ than any of the characters that he was supposed to be writing for.
Particularly Josh Boone or just one of the other writers or what?
I don't know. The
Well,
script just felt like it was written by somebody who's stupider than most of the characters.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, like, I'm not going to completely dump on the movie. The ending was better than I was expecting. Up until the ending, I was thinking, okay, this is like the best Hallmark movie that I've ever seen. Uh, then the ending hit, and okay, you made some bold decisions there, and so on and so forth. But aside from that, this is a movie that is in your face about how smart all of these characters are supposed to be.
Well,
And
smart or just educated?
I
that's a good. It's a
yeah,
good point.
right. Well, I don't think that the author was actually smart enough to make the distinction.
Okay.
But I mean, well educated and people who would go to Harvard or something. Which actually would make you kind of dumb nowadays. But I couldn't help but shake that the entire time that I was watching the movie, that the writer was actually kind of trying to signal to us that he's incredibly intelligent and incredibly well read. He's just not a good writer.
Interesting.
But I'll let you two come in and destroy me if you want. But that was just how I felt.
What did you think, Gil?
Oh well, it's funny because I also am not crazy about the movie, and funny enough, I'm looking at the poster and it says from the producer of Crazy Heart, and I think,
Crazy Heart.
wow,
The one with
yeah.
well, but wait a minute, from the producer, that doesn't mean much, right?
Yeah, exactly. But generally, I don't think you want to put that on the poster because this is not Crazy Heart. It's just not. Like, you don't want people who saw Crazy Heart to be seeking out this movie. They would be very disappointed.
I just
Um,
when you say anytime I hear from the producer, I mean, not to say that that doesn't mean anything, because it does. It does mean something. But I I instantly think about like the really terrible trailer marketing when it's like that movie Battleship came out, and it was like, from the studio that brought you Transformers. And I was like, the studio? Like, what? I mean, studios make all kinds of different kind of movies. Like, why the hell? Like, they couldn't even say the same director. They couldn't say, they just wanted to
obviously
get that in your head. It's like,
a
this is like a
marketing thing.
Transformers
Like if
movie.
there's one person on the production from the caterer of, no, obviously if it's somebody who's the creative producer, director, or studio, yeah, that's, you use that as a selling point. But Crazy Heart,
but I
this
think
is
it
nothing
means
like
a lot.
Crazy Heart.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. What you're saying, it's a very different kind of movie. But
they're grasping.
I feel like, yeah, they're grasping. Yeah, I just feel like whenever a trailer or a poster makes that kind of statement, it's 10 times more meaningful when you say the writer or the director. The producer, definitely, that means something. A hell of a lot more than the caterer or the studio, or something stupid like that. But I wouldn't even try to use a connection like that to try and sell a movie unless it was the writer or director.
Yeah, but to go back to my reaction to it,
sorry.
It is interesting to see how we would respond to movies like these, because I didn't like it for other reasons. For the complete opposite, I thought that all the characters were way too clever, or at least on screen. I might agree with Matt with further analysis that the writer is definitely not as clever as he thinks he is. There's definitely that going on. But it really bothered me that everybody's smart in this movie, even the people who are not supposed to be super educated. Everybody's clever, everybody's witty, and that just screams false. I get it that movies can have a tone, and you want to have some similarities between the characters and the acting styles, but they can't all talk the exact same way. It almost feels like they're all talking the same way. Maybe Jennifer Connelly, the mom, she's a bit more of she's going through more, so they don't give her too many clever lines. She's not as witty, but everybody else is like on fire, or at least they think they are. So
I would argue that Kristen Bell is a character that doesn't come off as sounding the same as the others, even though she's definitely a witty character. But I mean, let's just throw this out there. The working title for this movie was Writers, which is obviously a pretty bland title. But I mean, all the characters you're talking about, from Greg Kinnear, his two kids, and the love interest that I think his name's Logan something, whatever, the one that plays Lewis, that the daughter gets involved with, they're all supposed to be writers. So I mean, I would argue that to some people, some people who don't watch a lot of movies or something like that, or don't care about movies a lot, if they probably sat around listening to the three of us talk, they'd probably be like, oh, they all talk the same.
Yeah, no, and I totally understand. I can see that. I think Jennifer Connelly definitely, and there was the mother of the love interest. I can buy her being sort of clever because she gave birth to the guy who was in a writing,
are you talking about Barbara Wheatman, the one that was sick?
Yes, but yeah, I agree that Jennifer Connelly and the brother's love interest, both of them didn't have necessarily a very witty, clever. But Kristen Bell, actually, I did feel was a bit too witty, like but then it would.
But in a different way, though, like kind of in like she's more hooked into society, she's,
culture.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, maybe I'm wrong.
No, for sure. There's definitely. The differences were just not, I was comparing it when I was talking to my wife when we watched it, like even a Shakespeare play. It's all super smart stuff, but he writes the characters. The characters are very distinct in their speech, even though it's all Shakespeare speech.
Yeah.
So, and I don't feel like there's enough of a difference here, even though it's all writer's speech. Like they all had their personalities and they look different, but there wasn't enough separation there in the writing. And yeah, the thing about the Hallmark is what I was mentioning before we started. Is I had this discussion too with my wife. Is like, what makes a Hallmark movie or a TV movie? Like, where's that line drawn? That could be an interesting discussion, because
sometimes
it could be scope, sometimes it could be tone. but it does feel like this movie, not to mention there's Thanksgiving and Christmas twice in this movie, which is funny because we watched it like Christmas Day or whenever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just felt a bit too cutesy. But that's the question, not in an edgy way. I almost feel like, to me, this is a cheap version or cheap knockoff of a Noah Baumbach movie. Like,
Who?
that would be the difference. Like,
I
if
know the
you,
name, but I can't think of what.
yeah, so like, if you like, oh, Marriage Story, and like the ones that are like Squid and the Whale was one that he made
Oh.
that was more about writers and witty, and then I think both of them, Josh Boone and Noah Baumbach, I think they both come from like the East Coast elite, upper middle class upbringing. I believe so. I'm not. I'm projecting here, but I think that's what it is. So this I think also was shot in Massachusetts and stuff. There's like this air of like elitist East Coast thing, which Noah Baumbach has been able to use that to channel more self-deprecation of
Mhm.
that elitism, and that's what maybe why his movies are more effective. He makes light of it in some of his movies, and he's just a really good writer, where Josh Boone seems like a so-so writer. He's a good writer. He was able to, like, I think, wasn't there like another movie he made after that was slightly more successful,
Yeah, I've
the
never seen it before,
the
but
Fault in Our Stars,
yeah,
which
Fault in Our Stars.
I think was
Just
based. Yeah.
just to confirm what you said, by the way, your theory. It says here looks like he was probably born and raised in Virginia Beach, Virginia. So I don't know the area, but that does at least sound like a East Coast coastal thing, like what you're describing. So I don't know.
Yeah, I looked him up, and he's also young. He made the movie when he's really young, and that usually
Yeah.
it's probably like, I'm not saying he's not, obviously I'm sure he's really, really talented to be able to pull this off.
It was his
But
first film.
yeah, but I'm sure there's some connections that help there, and maybe, yeah, like I don't know what it was, but yeah. And then The Fault in Our Stars, I guess, was based on a book, so he had better material. That's why maybe he made a more successful,
Could be.
better source material, so he made a better movie. But yeah, in general, this is a very good attempt of what this tries to do. As far as recommending it, it's tough for me to recommend it. I would say if you want some like mindless, harmless fun, and you like some of these actors, then you'll probably have a good time. But there's probably better versions of this. Some of them are Noah Baumbach movies that you can watch instead. If you want an upgrade, is what I
and,
would say.
and it's funny because I think that you're trying to be soft on the movie, but I think that you're about as harsh as you could be to Josh Boone by saying, like, if you want something mindless, because it was very, very clear to me that he was kind of trying to show everybody how smart he is. And
Yeah.
uh, and that was one of the big turnoffs for me when it came to the movie, was that I just felt like he was trying to show me how smart he was.
Yeah, and I think we'll get to that in the second part with spoilers, because I do feel like if we get more in depth into what the movie was going for, and maybe where we had the reactions that we did, because I really feel like I can't do it without delving too deep
Yeah,
into why that's an issue, as far as like where all the storylines culminate and all that. So yeah, I would say, I'm not saying that it's mindless entertainment. It's obviously it's very sophisticated, and there's a lot of like references, and they talk about their favorite books, and it's all very smart stuff. But yes, it's got some issue of, it needed some self-deprecation. It needed some making fun of itself and these characters, because they are so ridiculous and they don't realize it, and they try to, but it doesn't take it all the way there. Yeah, that's why I think it's warrants
yeah.
like further discussion. But I enjoyed it. As I was watching it, I wasn't bored. I just felt like I've seen better versions of this. Yeah, I mean, for me personally, as far as rating it, I debated like to give it a 6, but I felt like I've been way too nice this podcast this far with movies, so I rated it like a 5. So, to try and give some lower ratings.
What did Diana think of it?
Honestly, I don't. She wasn't crazy about it either. I don't know what she would rate it, but
I was just curious because you said you watched it with her.
yeah, no, and part of the reasons why is like because of her, I wanted to find a movie that was less violence and stuff, and get into more like But so this was the one that she said she would be most interested out of the list that you had. But in any case, but one thing that's kind of interesting that happened to both of us as we were watching this is, and it's actually funny because I just watched Basketball, the movie.
Oh, geez, I just watched that this last week too. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why, but after like again some of the movies I've seen recently, I just needed a break from like heavy duty movies. So I don't believe I've ever watched it. So I watched Basketball because of Trey Parker and Matt Stone. But and the thing is, it happened to me the exact thing that happened with Stuck in Love. What were you gonna say, Matt? Before
No, I was just gonna say really quickly. I watched it because I watched Without Remorse, and I was just thinking, wow, this movie is unintentionally bullshit. So I just want to watch a movie that's intentionally bullshit.
Well said.
So,
Very well said.
But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So the reason why I bring it up at all is that the same exact thing that happened to me and Dana in Stuck in Love happened in this with Basketball. Is halfway through the movie is like, wait a second, have we seen this movie? Like I had both movies, and they were like I saw them one after the other, not at the same time, but within the same week. And for some reason, certain scenes, and obviously doesn't bode well for the movie if we don't recall seeing it. Some scenes seemed familiar to both of us, and then we're starting to think 2012. We weren't together yet, but could we have streamed? There's no way I would stream this. Like, and trying to think if could have Jason recommended this at some point because he's recommended like other movies of this ilk. Because Friends with Friends with Money, right? That was one that we watched that you recommended, and
you're talking about Friends with Kids.
with kids. Oh, sorry, Friends with Kids, and what was the other one? And these are Friends with Kids was actually pretty good, and there was another one I think, but I forget.
Not sure what the other one would have been.
But it's in this. Yeah,
I was gonna say you might have downloaded and watched it, even though this came out in 2012 and we were living in the same house for half of that year or so, more or maybe more. But I don't think I saw this in 2012. I don't think I saw this until probably 2014 or 2015 or something like that.
Oh no, yeah, I'm saying because it's after I met Diana. Like I feel like maybe you had recommended it and we watched it.
It's
like
possible.
2015, maybe? 2016. It's very possible. But in any case, yes. And the same thing happened to me with Basketball. It's like, did I see this? And so I just found that amusing. And again, doesn't bode well for both movies that I don't have the recollection of seeing them, but or maybe that there's something so familiar about them because they're so obvious. I don't know, but yeah. No, the one thing I definitely didn't remember is Trey Parker and Matt Stone making out.
How can you forget that?
Yeah, no, actually, I think it might have been the one that I remembered. But in any case, I probably haven't
shot, and he starts singing "Oh Sherry," and he's like, "No Journey songs, man."
Yeah. In any case, but it's interesting how memory works because obviously there's a limit to how much we can. At some point, you don't realize what movies you've seen. So,
unless you're Matt.
Yeah, no, for sure. Matt has a good memory, and I remember most of the movies that I've seen. But sometimes I do feel like I have to watch it again, to even know if I've seen it. What would be your rating, Matt?
I think I'm with you. Somewhere around a 5.5. Again, the ending really boosted it for me, but if the movie had ended like 15 minutes earlier and not or had just carried on that path, it would have been like a 3. But the ending boosted it enough for me to say 5.5. I still wouldn't recommend it. I mean, if you're looking for a Christmas romance story kind of movie, I would still say just watch Love Actually because Keira Knightley's in it, and but yeah, that's where I stand. So I'll stop there.
I'd probably put it like a 7.
All right.
That's fair. Yeah. Well, I guess we've given our opinions, so we could go into spoilers.
Yep.
Well, I'll start just because I was mentioning something briefly. Is the whole self-deprecation thing is I think there's a little bit of it. Like obviously the father, Greg Kinnear, he has to come to terms with the fact that he's got issues. I mean, they all have issues, no doubt.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like it was very effective in trying to show that. Sort of like what I think, I don't know, Jason, you were saying something about there's a difference between being smart and being educated, because people can be very, very educated but be really stupid when it comes to certain things in life.
Well, I mean, look at how naive he is about his wife and his chances of getting back together with her, especially with him knowing nothing about it.
Yes, but then what happens in the end? That's the whole thing.
Because of the fact that that only cause and effect. Like Kristen Bell, who's the woman down the beach that he's sleeping with on a semi-regular basis as just like a casual sex partner, starts telling him that he needs to get back out there, otherwise he's never gonna he's just gonna be alone all his life because she's never coming back. And it's because he starts making changes in his life, and he starts bettering himself and things like that, that the next time he sees his wife, she sees progress in him, and she sees things. And when she starts having the inevitable problems that she has with her new husband, she starts seeing him as an option again, and she eventually comes back.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how much I buy that. I mean, I think it also had to do with other things like her relationship with the daughter evolving and all that. But I don't know how much he's changed really. She really just comes out and says that she just got lost, and she realizes that she's made a mistake with the the dude that she was with. But yes, there's no doubt that there's an evolution to the Greg Kinnear character. He realizes.
I mean, the youngest one, the boy, he's very naive throughout the whole thing, and he learns a lot, obviously, but kind of the way that a young person learns things through traumatic experiences and stuff.
Yeah. And the thing about all that is that it was also very obvious that that's what the movie was going for right away. It's like the sister too. She's very, very defined and stuck in her ways, and that she's going to learn some lesson. Like that's the thing that was obvious about all of this, is that they're all going to learn lessons, and there wasn't too big of a surprise. Yeah, except for like, what was the thing, Matt, you said towards the end that made it slightly better for you?
Just the fact that the relationship with Rusty and Kate didn't work out, and they actually had kind of a and this is why it's a soft better rather than a really significant better, in that it's something that at least the movie didn't tie everything up into a nice little Christmas package with a bow on it and wrap everything up. And still I'm pulling that back because it did kind of wrap everything up in a nice little bow when Jennifer Connelly's character shows up at the end, and you're like, okay, can I have Thanksgiving dinner with you and everything? And I don't know. I'm conflicted. The movie was bold enough to not have a perfect storybook ending for everybody, but it wasn't bold enough to actually what's the right word for this?
I think what you're saying, Matt, is that you would have preferred it to have a more dramatic ending rather than a more romantic ending. Because I mean, name me one romance movie that doesn't have at least some kind of happy ending to it.
Uh,
I can't
well,
think of one.
well, I mean, Annie Hall.
It's kind of blurring
Don't get into
the
Jason
lines,
and
but whatever. And an overrated film, but okay.
One of the greatest movies ever made, but okay.
Also one of the most overrated films ever made, but okay, go on.
But no, the funny thing is that there are. I'm actually giving it points for the ending, and now in retrospect, I'm thinking that there are so many things wrong with the ending that I might have been too generous. I mean, like, his favorite author just calls him up. Hey, your sister sent me your short story, and I thought it was brilliant. And I'm going to put it in, and I'm going to recommend that it get published in this new book, and so on and so forth. And like, just so actually, by the way, we were talking about basketball. Matt Stone and Trey Parker talked about this. The and then moments.
Yeah.
There are way too many and then moments in this movie. And then this happened. It's not like, okay, this happened and therefore this is now happening.
I mean, I can think of a few, but there's a difference between an and then that was completely not set up at all and an and then that was set up previously in the movie as opposed to right before.
Yeah,
I mean, like I don't know what you're referring to, so I don't want to assume or
okay,
anything. But
so,
I'll just throw this out there. Like, you could say that Lily Collins has completely given up on her relationship with the Lewis character,
yeah.
because she's pissed off at him and whatever. And you could say, and then Lewis's mom dies, but Lewis's mom was sick from the moment we met her. Lewis's mom has a good connection with her character, and there's things that point to the fact that she's not quite done with that relationship, even though she's being really cynical about it. So it's like, you could, from a script writing analysis sort of point of view, you could say that that's an and then, but it's not really like the kind of and then that you would criticize when you're talking about, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I know it. I know what you're saying. You're just wrong.
Okay.
But I mean, that wasn't an example that I was thinking of.
All right. Well,
thinking,
yeah. So I mean, I was just throwing that out there. I mean, like,
but okay.
not to say that that's the only thing.
But like Bill and Erica just happening to run into each other at the mall during Christmas, when like, it's kind of established that Bill lives like on the waterfront, and it's not like, they've never established anything, that it's just like, okay, this is a place where they both kind of go to on a regular basis. Oh, but they just ran into each other. They just happen to run into each other, and that's a major plot point.
I don't know. He lives close enough to stalk her.
Yeah, no, he definitely. I mean, it's a small town, so there might be like only one main shopping center.
Yeah,
but still, yes,
it's still kind of a stretch. And they set up that Rusty is a huge Stephen King fan, and that they're both writers, but that is a really thin setup for just having Stephen King call Rusty at the end and say, "Hey, I love your book."
Well, nepotism.
Yeah, it's basically. I think it might be in a way like Josh Boone, maybe kind of like writing in.
Yeah, right.
Maybe he has similar connections growing up that helped him.
I didn't even think about that part. I was just
No,
referring.
I'm kidding. Actually, I have no idea, and I'm being overly critical for no reason. But it's possible. It's just it's
Greg Kinnear's character is not just a published writer. They specifically say that he's an award-winning writer. I mean,
no.
Yeah.
like it's not unheard of to think of that. Like, especially when the line of dialogue where Stephen King says that he's a big fan of his, or that he's a fan of his book or something. We've probably met each other before.
I mean, that I'll buy. I don't think that exonerates the movie from saying that, that's an and then moment. It's still an and then moment.
I
But
guess. I mean, the whole conflict at the beginning of the story is his dad telling him that his writing is never going to get better until he experiences life. He goes out, he experiences life, he gets his heart broken, and then they have a scene of him being able to, like, at first he's struggling to write, and then he's writing like crazy. In fact, him and the father start writing a whole bunch of shit because of what they're going through in their lives, and they're using it as fuel for their writing. And then, therefore, sorry, he gets a call. I mean, yes, it's not perfect film, writing, but I don't know if it qualifies as an and then.
okay, you've probably seen this movie more times than I have because I've only seen it once. But was there ever a point in the moment? Ever a point in the movie where Rusty actually showed his sister what he wrote?
I don't know. I mean, she came into his room a couple times, but I would say no, probably not.
Yeah,
there's a few issues like that for sure. Like, also, by the way, the relationship with Kate, right?
Yeah, that's Rusty's girlfriend.
Yeah, she has a thing there, like, she's kind of troubled. I don't know, it didn't seem that way in the beginning, but then you realize it with the drugs at the party and stuff. But
well, not to mention she's like clearly been doing cocaine since the very first shot we see her in. She's got like capillaries in her nose are bleeding.
Yeah, but the whole thing is, it seems like she's sort of like, I mean, she likes him, but it feels like she's sort of like pity fucking him in a way because he's cute, and because she's messed up. But then she's got this whole line, like when she says, "You can't fix me," or something like that. And I'm like, I don't know. Maybe it's because it's an ensemble and they didn't set it up properly. But I didn't feel like he had any agenda to try and fix her. Like, he wasn't trying again and again and again to, to make her better with his,
Oh, I
charm.
think that she said that because she was trying to fix herself using him. I don't think he was trying to.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. But you know what? That's not hinted at enough to explain that. Is that the reason why she was with him is that maybe it's not a pity fuck, that maybe she likes him and she doesn't feel like she deserves someone as nice as him. But you can throw a line in there or insinuate that, and then it's so much better. For one thing,
well, one of my favorite lines in the movie is when he takes her home, and after they have a conversation and stuff like that, and she asks him if the poem that he read in class was actually about her, and he says yeah, and she kind of realizes that he's like this hopeless romantic and he's like a nice kid and whatever. She says to him, she kisses him and she says, "I think you'll be very good for me."
Yes, no, for sure. It's
That definitely implies that she's, trying to better herself through a relationship, which is probably a terrible idea.
Yes, exactly. So in a way, and I'll accept that maybe I think I heard that, but maybe I didn't connect all those dots there.
yeah.
But it just wasn't clear enough that she's basically grasping onto him to fix her. But then she kind of blames him for, trying to fix her, or saying like, "You can't fix me." But you're saying that's just her acknowledging her mistake.
That's what it came off as me. I mean, I could be wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, and yeah, and mostly I just feel like that he ends up Rusty comes off as just very passive, which is okay because it's the whole thing. His dad tells him he needs to like have experiences in life. I do wonder if I don't know. They never say what the story that he has is. It would have been semi-interesting if it was related to the experiences he was having. I don't know if maybe
I
that was
personally
hinted at.
believe that that's something that could have made the movie much better. because it's just supposed to be a short story. It's not like it was a novel or something. If somehow you had this exact same story, and we got as the audience to see, read, hear, somewhat in some way, shape, or form, get a good idea of what it was he actually wrote, that would benefit the movie greatly, in my opinion.
Yeah, because they're
That
all
alone might knock it up
writers.
one whole number.
Because the
One whole
poem
grade.
was good. The poem that he read was pretty
Yeah, that was
good.
all right.
So,
Yeah, it was a
I
little-
mean, so the guy can write. The writer, Josh.
Sure.
So it's he could have like worked that in there, and and I'm not saying, I think there's a lot of clever stuff that even went over my head. Some of the book references. I mean, I haven't read all those books, so yeah, I'm sure there's even more to it there. But then again, that's a different issue with the movies. Like if you're gonna have obscure book references of like their favorite book or something, then it's not gonna really like help me. It helped a little bit when they, the Greg Kinnear character, like he says what's his favorite book, and then he quotes from it, so you kind of understand why. But with them, like the Lily Collins and the love interest, like when they talk about their favorite books and stuff, it's I don't know what they're talking about and why they like it so much. So
I don't know.
Yeah, and incidentally, that was another problem that I had, where I just thought it was the writer of the movie kind of shoving it in our face, like, oh, look how smart I am. I mean, I've read Dostoevsky, but I'm not going to write in a script, oh, it's like Crime and Punishment, Yeah, you're just like Raskolnikov. Hey,
You don't make any literary references in your writing?
no, I do, but I'm not going to pack a script with them.
No, okay.
I mean, you can semi accept that because it's a book, it's a movie about writers and stuff. But it's like I said, the times where they illustrate what is it in it, that helps a little bit. And
I was gonna say I don't entirely disagree with you guys about the issue with the characters. Let's just put it this way: it's not the greatest script in the world or anything like that, But you were criticizing, saying that that it feels like someone trying to make characters sound smart as opposed to them just being written very smart or something like that. I feel like this movie does a far better job of being successful with this than, say, like the Dennis Quaid movie Smart People.
Oh,
That's like what I'm saying? That's like a good example of a movie where it's like every character in an entire family are all supposed to be super educated, and it kind of just comes off as like, I don't know, how would you describe that? Unsuccessful?
I would call it an abortion, but
I don't know if I'd go that far.
But
I think we're trying to avoid the A word on this.
But yeah, no, I actually looked that movie up in preparation for
You did,
this
really?
for this episode.
So I'm not the only one who saw that connection. All right.
No, Smart People is a much worse movie. Much worse movie.
Well, I'm glad that you feel that way, Matt.
I mean, that is just that is cinematic masturbation on the point that Lars von Trier cannot even fathom.
It's not that bad. I mean, it's a bad movie. Let's just face it, it's a bad movie. But
I mean, at least Willem Dafoe wasn't ejaculating blood, but
yeah, exactly. I mean, we had like I don't know, other stuff that was bad in it, but it wasn't like Willem Dafoe. Yes, doing that.
Apparently, the director is an Israeli director.
Which one?
For Smart People.
Oh, I think the problem with that movie was the script, not the director. But I don't know. Maybe it was the same person. Who knows?
Yeah, he might have written it. No, I think he actually didn't. He only directed it. Okay. So off the hook there.
Off the hook. Well, it not related to anything else we were just saying. two things I liked about this movie were just that you don't see too many of these movies where, like let's just loosely call this like a romantic movie. It's kind of like drama, romance, and comedy, I guess, but still, I wouldn't call this like strictly a romantic comedy. But you don't get too many where there's like three relationships happening at once, and it's not an ensemble film. It's not, Matt mentioned Love Actually, or something. It's not like that at all. It's also not your stereotypical, like you even in a movie that has more than one thing going on, like When Harry Met Sally, you've got like Carrie Fisher and that other guy, but they're clearly like friend characters. They're like the side characters. The movie's not about them. Whereas this, you have like three distinctive relationships going on at once. I kind of like that. I don't know. I'm not even really exactly sure why, but I feel like in some way I really connected to several of the like the male characters in this story, and that's probably not a good thing considering what the story is about. But yeah,
I can see that. You mean like, yeah, connecting to, for one thing, writing, because you do like to write.
oh well, not just that. I mean, just their struggles and what they go through and everything.
Yes, and then the relationship aspect. If you've been in a relationship where you felt like, and I think this is most people, which this is why you can give props to this movie. It touches on things that everybody has issues, or that everybody just has issues in general. But that you try to correct someone through a relationship, which that doesn't work.
Yeah, it
And
doesn't work.
Okay,
yeah,
so just a really crazy thought that I had watching the movie. Would it actually have been kind of interesting if the character of Lewis were gay? Like if the entire interaction between he and Samantha, played by Lily Collins, yeah, she's just rejecting him because you want to fuck me and I'm not interested. What if that entire narrative had just come back to no, I just want to love you as a friend.
Hmm.
I mean, what if that couldn't that have added a layer to the movie?
Maybe.
And,
I
and
just don't know if
I,
it's the layer
I,
they're going for.
and again, like I'm saying this as not a social justice warrior, not
Yeah, no,
somebody who
we get you're not trying to say this movie would be better if it checked more boxes.
right, but could it have actually been a more interesting movie? It's called Stuck on Love, Stuck in Love. Maybe there's a different kind of love that you can
Yeah, maybe.
bring into the plot. I actually, and by the way, I actually thought that Lewis was gay in the first few interactions that he had with Samantha during the movie. So uh, I don't know. I actually thought that might have been a like cool little bit to slide into it. Just what
Maybe.
she's just so offended that he's inserting himself into her life because she's so convinced that he just wants to have sex with her. What if there were just that one moment where it's just like, I'm gay, I just think you're cool, I just want to hang out.
I mean,
Yeah,
there's always a chance that would have been an interesting choice.
Yeah.
yeah. The only issue with it, I think, is that the whole thing is that she screws around because she doesn't believe in love, because
Yeah,
she
he's
doesn't
got a
believe in
teacher.
relationships.
You got a teacher
Yeah,
that what do you call it? That romantic love can work. Because she's seen the disintegration of her parents' marriage, and so she's incredibly cynical about that stuff now.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
I mean that basically, and not to say, I'll give it credit. Like, it's not as if we know that there's going to be happily ever after. It's just that he convinces her that it's that it's worth a try. But he does give that bullshit line of which I think I've even said that once, not under good circumstances, but he says that line in the car, like, I'm not gonna hurt you. Shut the fuck up. You don't know if you're not gonna hurt her. Are you gonna rape her? Are you gonna beat her up? Probably not. You're not gonna intentionally hurt her. But the whole thing about love
Emotionally,
is
yeah,
that
yeah,
it's painful, even if you've done nothing wrong, even
yeah.
if you didn't raise your voice. Like, just the fact that love sometimes ends prematurely before death comes, which
Yeah.
is most relationships. You might hurt her unintentionally, so you can't promise that to someone. But that's okay. He's naive too. Again, I guess that's the writing. That's the
He's also kind of even though he is a bit naive, he's kind of the wise sage of the group, though.
and
I mean,
that's not
he doesn't
saying
have it. He
much.
doesn't. I know. I mean, he doesn't have any clear emotional issues like the rest of them do.
He's more. I think he's an open book, not pun
Yeah, yeah,
intended.
that might
Like
be.
he's kind of
Yeah,
like I want to give it a try. I want to get to know you. I want to try love. I don't know where it's gonna go. I can't. But that's the thing. But he shouldn't guarantee. If he had said yes, you might get hurt, but that's okay, because it's anything that's worthwhile has some risk involved in it.
mhm,
Like if
yeah,
he had said that instead of saying, I'm not going to hurt you in the car,
that would
that
have
would
been a
have
better
made him a
line.
more interesting character,
Yeah,
because then he's saying like, I don't have all the answers. I don't know if this is going to work out, but I think it's worth a shot. You know,
yeah,
it
yeah.
seems like we have similar interests, and maybe that's a good thing, it's a bad thing, but why not just give it a shot? Like, why not take a chance on pain? Throw some, like, like little gems like that in there. Like, throw some stuff about, like, yeah, your parents are divorced, but who said you're gonna end up that way? And even if you do, does that mean that the relationship
That the
that they did
world's
have
over.
and the
Yeah,
kids that they have were not worthwhile, should have never happened? That time was wasted. Like, every experience is has a potential for growth, whether it's negative or positive. So to just have an aversion to risk just makes you weak. And if nothing else, once you do hit adversity, you won't be able to handle it because you haven't prepared yourself
that would have been
for it.
better.
Yes. I mean, it's just stuff like that. Like, that's more
Yeah.
real. Like, this movie just felt, and I think that's the word I used with Diana. It's just too vanilla. It was just too vanilla. I needed some more black and brown people here. Maybe it did need to be a bit more woke. But not necessarily with the characters. I needed it with the attitude. It just needed to be more. It
Yeah.
just and maybe that's the elitist thing that I was talking. The East Coast elitist, which that's okay to make a movie about, but then it has to be self-deprecating. It's like, wow, we're idiots. Like, we're so privileged. Our lives are so good. Yes, I mean, that one has a drug problem, but luckily she didn't die. She'll be okay. But come on, we're fucking idiots. Like, we have it so good, and we're worried about, like, having our hearts broken. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Like, just take it easy. No, I don't know. It's just, that's what I felt like. It was
uh,
a bit
uh,
too vanilla.
I was just thinking, the famous Shakespeare line, "Tis better to have loved and lost than to have never loved." And I mean that's a better line than "I will never hurt you."
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly. And I'm saying it as
and
someone who said this in real life and felt stupid saying it. So,
yeah, I mean, and the funny thing is, like, I've actually deliberately slid the word intentionally into that line. I will never intentionally hurt you.
yeah,
I, I,
no,
I,
that's a better
I,
line.
I've actually started saying that. I actually think that that's a better variation on that. Just sliding that word in there. And by the way, in a movie that is supposed to be stacked with incredibly intelligent people, I will never intentionally hurt you.
Yes, I think we all agree that that's not a good line.
Yeah, but let me ask a question so we can also get close to wrapping it up. Because I was curious about this. So, Jason, do you recall how you've come across this movie and why you decided to watch it the first time? I'm just
It's
curious.
funny. No. I'm glad you asked because I was wondering that as I was like, I mean, I didn't watch this movie recently. I guess I did watch it fairly recently. I watched it with my parents about 2 months ago or something, and I was trying to think back about the movie and think if there was anything in particular I wanted to talk about. And I thought to myself, like, oh, that is something we usually bring up is like how we first thought of it. I didn't see it in theaters. Obviously, I don't think anybody saw it in theaters. I don't think it made any money in theaters. But I thought to myself, like, how did I figure out, like this movie even existed? Because it's not like a well-known movie or anything. But I'm pretty sure. Okay, I'm like 90% sure this is how it went. I think somewhere around 2014 or 15 or something like that. I think I started watching Veronica Mars or something like that. And I think I had also just seen, I was kind of on like a Kristen Bell kick or something like that. Because I think I had just seen Safety Not Guaranteed and The Lifeguard and a few of these like other kind of indie movies she had done. And I was like, oh man, I wonder how many of these like small like movies I've never even heard of that she did. So I think I was just like trolling her IMDb page because I'm like I think Kristen Bell's like top 10. She's like outstanding. Anyway, so that Dax Shepard bastard. So, anyway,
It's funny because
so
I thought it was actually the Jennifer Connelly angle from a
oh
similar.
no, I love Jennifer Connelly. Love Jennifer Connelly. But no, I think I was looking at her page and I saw this thing and I was like, what's this Stuck in Love? And I clicked on it and I was like, let's look at a trailer for this. And I looked at the trailer on YouTube and stuff like that. And I was like, I love Greg Kinnear. I love Jennifer Connelly. And Kristen Bell's in this. How bad could it be? And then I came for the Greg Kinnear, Jennifer Connelly, Kristen Bell, and I was watching this movie going like, who the hell is this beautiful girl that plays his daughter? And then I looked it up and I was like, wait a minute, Lily Collins, that's like Phil Collins' daughter? That's crazy. I didn't know she was an actress. And then I looked it up and I was like, oh, she was in that one Tarsum Singh movie, the only one I haven't seen of his, And then I started looking up some of her. Yeah, I never saw that one. It's like his only movie I've never seen.
Yeah, it's not good.
Oh, good to know. Good to know. Anyway,
Yeah.
then that got me on this whole thing of like, I want to see if there's any good movies she's ever been in. So I started looking up her movies, and now she's a pretty well known. I think she's got a pretty successful TV show going right now and stuff like that. And I was just kind of like, oh man, I didn't even know she was like an actress or anything. And then by the time this movie was done, I was like sitting there going, wow, that'd be kind of cool to have like Phil Collins as a stepfather. That'd be cool,
Okay, and that's the reason.
Okay.
No, that's not the
You sound like Cartman there from
gorgeous.
That'd be cool. Yeah. No, but the reason I wasn't saying it like in any negative way. I actually because I do find it funny, and I'm glad we did this movie because, like I said, we did need like a change of pace a bit to try something different, and that you do have these. Whether it's the anime, of course, recommendations, or these, movies like romance / comedy. Yeah, I mentioned like the Friends with Kids, and I think there was another one. I'm pretty sure there's another one I'm forgetting.
But was I telling you about?
Edge of 17.
Yeah, that's like really.
Yeah,
good
which
one.
that one was a good one. That's a good example of like.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Better than this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I do find it funny that and I think I've mentioned this before that I feel like generally because both of you watch more movies than I do, I have less time and I'm way more selective with the movies that I watch, and that I feel like, that you watch way more mediocre movies than I do because I'm so selective, and that it's good for me to get these recommendations every once in a while because I so rarely see a not so great movie that it's good to watch things and say, oh, well, so what exactly is the issue with it or what's wrong with this? Like, it's not that I don't stumble onto like so-so movies, but it is pretty rare because of the selection process that I
Oh,
have.
That Gil,
So-
that was a very eloquent backhanded compliment.
No, but seriously, I think it's
No,
important to watch these
I
movies. And
totally get what
sometimes,
you're saying. I totally
because
get it.
otherwise I would never, like, for example, like I said, Edge of 17, I would have never seen, and I really enjoyed it. And Friends with Kids was pretty good. It was like insightful. This one, I'm not saying that this one wasn't. All movies, I mean, it's an hour and a
It's
half.
not as good as those two, that's for sure.
Yeah, like you're gonna have some insight in there, like if you have like a 120-page script. But yeah, I felt like this one was just not up to par with, yeah, exactly, with some
Yeah.
of the other ones. That's pretty much what it is. That's all it comes to. Obviously, like a lot of effort was put into it, and it's, it's very thought through. But it's so tough to make a good movie. Like,
Yeah.
it's so difficult. So many things can go wrong. The script, the acting, the this, the that.
In
You
that
know, it's
Friends with Kids movie, I think that John Hamm really elevates that movie.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's I mean, all the characters are pretty good. Like,
I
but
mean,
yeah,
he's got the tirade though,
yeah, like he loses it a bit. There's then the cabin thing.
Yeah, when he's like, just like letting them all have it.
Yeah. So
I
then,
mean, John Hamm pretty much elevates everything. I mean,
Generally.
yeah, I would totally have sex with him if I were a woman or
Wow.
gay. But
It's a weird place to take that, Matt. That's all. It's just very weird.
yeah, but yeah, no. So what I'm saying, and I guess this is what this podcast is all about, is we're gonna have. We do through this and through maybe even before this podcast, we did have these recommendations for each other, and we would watch movies that otherwise we wouldn't see, or at least like wouldn't get around to seeing for a while.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's,
For all the people who don't know us, when the three of us used to live together in the same house, we tended to have this loose rule about, like, since we watched a movie almost every night of the week, we kind of had this like thing where it's like, if possible, if we're all suggesting movies to watch, like we would usually go with the one that the few of us had seen. So if two of us hadn't seen one and only one of us hadn't seen another and all three of us had seen a third one, we'd usually go with the one that the few of us had not, or that more people had not seen.
yeah, no, I remember that rule. So at least two of us needed to have not seen it, unless
Or
we're watching a particular movie.
Or if there were three suggestions and two of them were ones that we had all seen and one of them were one that one of us hadn't
Yeah,
seen.
the least amount of people. Yeah,
We're just always attempting to experience new things as much as possible.
yeah, obviously. Which is why I also famously very rarely rewatch movies. That's why you castigated me when I said I haven't rewatched The Lord of the Rings. Because I already have so little time. I'm not
Such
gonna
an
get all.
experience. I don't understand how you can't have seen it again.
Yeah, hopefully, if once the kids are old enough, it'll be an experience with them.